Welcome back, family, to another episode of Courtney's Corner. We are at episode 11. Next week is our season finale, and it's going to be jam-packed. So please, whatever you do not miss Courtney's Corner. Today on our show, we have a very proactive and interesting topic to discuss, and that's millennial disinterest in the church. If you've grown up in the church, you get used to a certain feeling when you go, a type of protocol, something that is seen every Sunday and is called tradition. Some millennials have started to grow weary of this, and unfortunately, it's caused many of us to leave the church or just grow apart. Many of us have now gone to these new age churches, which we'll jump into answering questions like, what are the elements missing from today's worship? Are the sermons or the homilies preached reaching us? What role does music play in reaching all generations? But right now, let's do something real quick. Let's close our eyes and go back to a good memory, something strong that we had in church. What was it about that memory that stayed with you? Did the feeling you had then leave? And what is it that you're missing? Keep those thoughts in your mind as we begin our conversation. And don't go anywhere, because when we come right back, we have a youth leader, a family man, a friend of mine. He was the first guest on season 1 of Courtney's Corner, and he's here with me again as my guest co-host. Brandon Morrell will be right with me when we come back. Don't go nowhere. We're right here on Courtney's Corner.
So why do we like Courtney's Corner? Why do you like it?
Hard discussions. Stuff that we want to talk about, but we just don't know quite how to say it.
When the war is won, we will be sure.
You know, for me per se, you know, I come from East New York, Brooklyn. Fortunately, I never had to experience what it was to have a cop stop me and frisk me. But that's, like I said, we are all different in our circumstances and what we're doing in our environment.
And that's why I like Courtney, because he really knows how to touch on topics and he gets the right people to discuss the issues that affect current society. So yeah, that's why I like listening, watching, and being part of the show.
Civil disobedience, which was perfected under Dr. King through the Civil Rights Movement, is still a practice that is being deployed today to achieve social discussion and to, as a tool used to fight against social injustice.
When I looked at the Civil Rights Movement back then, I looked at them like Martin Luther King and all of them. They had a standard that they stood by. Even the way they conduct themselves, the way they dress.
What would you do if you had the opportunity to stand up before inequality and fight like these war heroes did? Writer Stephanie J. Shaw said, each generation has to write its own history. Fast forward 50 years, and unfortunately, we're still dealing with some of these issues. Others fought so hard to overcome, just in different forms. What would you do if you had... Welcome back, guys. We are here with our panel. First up, let's just give it up for this young brother who I happened to stumble upon on a DM that somebody sent me of you performing. And I was like, wow, I gotta get this young cat on here. Like, I'm not sure if you remember K. Hyph. He was the one who...
Oh, yeah.
He was the one who was like, you gotta listen to him. You gotta listen to him. And I was like, okay, all right. And when I listen to you, blown away.
Thanks,
so everybody, give it up for this spoken word artist. His name is Sharif, but he goes by Carnegie Kid. Make some noise, everybody, for him.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
And this young lady over here, man, we've known each other for a very, very long time.
For a long time.
A youth minister, a friend, a sister, an evangelist. Give it up for Miss Janice Green, everybody.
Yes. A karaoke singer.
So thank you guys for being here. It's amazing having you. I appreciate you guys coming. I already told you how much I appreciate you for being here. So we're talking about millennial disinterest in the church. First off, let's start off you guys telling me, what do you think? Well, what are your opinions about what millennial, what that term means? We were talking about it earlier, but we can say it here. I'll go with you, Janice.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, the denotative meaning of millennial, we can say, is from the age of 18 to about 30.
Okay.
In one definition, it was a word defined by sociologists in the 1800s that they pre-saw that we would be a transitional generation, but we would be so engulfed in technology and we would be advanced, but yet we were like doomed. For me, all I hear of millennials sometimes is so negative. Like they say we're lazy, we can't budget our money, we're spoiled. And
I think we're a lot more than that.
so much more.
Some people are that. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
But that's
Some
with
millennials
that's with any age group, So don't box us in because of an age,
What about you, Sharif?
I kind of agree. I think the age range is about maybe 18 or 20 to about maybe 30, 35, that kind of pocket. Okay. And I agree. It's only negative comments that are kind of made by that group. But I think that's just natural. That comes from the generation before us. And when you kind of look at the people that come after you, you see the negative rather than the positive. So I think that's just what it is. We're living in a transitional time, so it's kind of hard for us to navigate. We're not navigating the same way that our parents and grandparents did. So they're just, criticizing it. But we live in a different world. So the tactics that you use don't necessarily work for us now. So we're just figuring it out.
What about you?
Very good.
Oh yeah, no. So I mean, the study kind of says a bunch, and I've looked at this a bunch of different ways. It's like there's the Gen X, then millennials, and then Gen Z, which is like the teenagers and down there, right? And the crazy thing about it is that like on all the stuff that I see, there's actually, they talk about hope for Gen Z, but
wow.
they do us.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Wow.
Damn, I didn't see that.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many different aspects to it, but I think we're just a bridge, really. And I think I actually said this on that first episode. It's funny that came up again. But like, the one thing about being a bridge is like good, you connect people. The bad thing about being a bridge is you get stepped on. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes that's us. In so many ways.
Wow.
That's dope.
I'm like torn because I don't hear too much negative. I mean, we are, but like you said, that's with every generation. But I do feel like in our generation, we have a lot of leaders.
Yes,
what I'm
we
saying?
do.
A lot of people are doing great things to kind of make things happen. Especially when it deals with politics and like community engagements. And it's like us in the church. Like we were born and raised into a church, and we grew up and we became evangelists.
Yes.
We became ministers. You know what I mean? And we've done what we can, or at least tried to be better than what we have before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be negativity no matter where you go, right?
Right.
And for me, well, after doing some research on it, according to the Pew Research Center, millennials were born between 1981 and 1996, so that's like for 23 to 38. That's what they're saying that millennials range in, which is us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to kind of gearing back towards like the church, a lot of us are now growing up, and we're kind of wavering away. We started out, we were in the choirs, we were doing ushering, we were all at the service or whatever you wanted to do inside that church, and then we kind of left what we knew and we kind of ventured out for something else. Now, according with my team, we're kind of figuring out what are some of the elements that may be missing. So I'm going to throw some out to you guys, and you guys can just like let me know how you feel. So one of them we were thinking about was music. Like being in the church, we all know that's something that gravitates all of us in community, whether you're old, young, or within this generation. Music has a way of kind of gravitating us all back to this one, it's that community.
Music moves the heart.
Yes.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, they're saying that some type of churches are not teaching us properly. They're not having a lot of sermonic topics going on that can relate to us as a generation, shall I say.
Wow.
So what are your takes on some of that?
Whew.
I'll start with you again.
You want to start with me? Sure. That just blew me away. First of all, as growing up in church, I noticed that there was a shift in me because I loved church growing up. Like for me, church was a safe haven. I was there literally every day and I enjoyed it. And one of my issues I've had as far as sermons has been what are you talking about? You know, being that we are a generation of research and knowledge, it's like, you know, choose the old because they're, you know, they're wise, but, you know, use the youth because they're strong. And it's like we have the strength, but we also have a lot of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Because we research everything. So I know for sure I can be very emotional in church. For worship and praise, I'm up. Yay, yay, yay. For, you know, other things, access going on in church. But when it comes down to the word, I notice that I shift my whole mind and I really want to hear what you're going to say. And I find myself comparing what you're saying to the text you chose. And I'm like, it doesn't mean that.
Right.
You know, you're not even matching what you read. And I think one of our issues as millennials is we're starting to pull back the layers of what we were taught, you know, growing up in religion. We're starting to say, I kind of disagree with that theology that I was taught, you know, far as death, salvation, things. And it's not that we're trying to move away from it. We just want proper answers. And if you're not studying to give us those proper answers, then, you know, we're kind of like backing away on Sunday mornings and going to brunch instead of going to church. And I think far as the music, churches vary, you know, with the music, but I think music is a major element that draws us there because it tugs at our heart, tugs at our emotions, and I would even say our intelligence. And even in the gospel industry, there's a war between CCM music and gospel music. When Kirk Franklin came out, oh my goodness, every old mother in the church wanted to kill him, but he was powerful and he was innovative. So I think those are some of the elements that plague the millennial today in far as church.
What about you?
Oh man, I mean, so just a couple of different questions there, right? So to start music, I guess that was the first one.
Yeah.
Well, this is like what we were talking about earlier about tradition. So, again, tradition in and of itself is not bad on a human level. But when I don't even know how to say it, but like, it's like that is the ways in which things are done, the way, the style of dress, the sound, when that's elevated, like, oh, only that genre can God speak through. You know, like, kind of like it moves up. It's like, no, I mean, it's the heart, kind of what I kind of commented on. So music moves the heart, and so it comes. If it doesn't come from the heart of the person, and it's not, then how is it going to move the heart? And so I think just culture develops over time as people interact and stuff, and so we live in a time where like so much blending of cultures has happened.
Yes, yes.
And I think traditionally, and this is one of the problems too, is like even race, nationality, those things play into it because we've used those as the things that divide, and then God in those contexts. And so when millennials have that problem of just we're used to being multicultural, just in every essence, then, you know, I think that's where issue is coming up.
What about you?
To me, I think the disconnect originates from the fact that these texts or these practices haven't been adapted over time, and it's kind of like you're giving me some cookie cutter answer that was written who knows how many thousands of years ago by one particular man or one set of group of people for us to follow. And I don't think that's reflective of the society we live in. That's one person's experience, that's one person's point of view. So if you were to maybe be able to adapt it or try to make it, I don't want to say modernize it, but make it more appropriate for our times, people would gravitate towards it more. I mean, I think there are things in the Bible absolutely saying that sex before marriage is wrong. I think that was reflective of the time. People were getting married at 10 and 11 years old during those times. I think that's what that rule is for. You shouldn't be engaging in sex as a child. But I don't think God would be mad at me for maybe dating a woman and having sex with her before my. The God that I'm praying to couldn't have a problem with that. So I think that's where the disconnect comes from. Initially, there's so many things that you can point to and say, how is this? How can we take this, for face value? Like it's the end all be all. If you wear mixed linens, if your shirt is polyester, and that's a sin. Like I'm going to hell for that, seriously. Like so, it's
Also, too, just to kind of play devil's advocate, I feel like in a lot of cases we want the word to gravitate towards us.
Absolutely.
And when it doesn't, then we're like, okay, I'm done. So like, when we hear the word, we want God to be able to make what we do wrong okay.
True.
Can I get an amen up in here?
I give you an eye.
Because I do feel like, okay, so say for instance, for example, you're out, you're living your life, you're
Yes.
partying every day, you're doing all these things, and then when you go to church on Sunday, you're looking for some type of affirmation as to what partying and stuff is okay. It's okay to drink and then go to church the next day in the morning and praise God. It's okay, and I want to be able to find little clicks and clacks in the word that says that it's okay because I'm a millennial. It's okay because I'm young. And instead of taking the word as it is and saying, you know what, I'm in my wrong. And you know, and reading the text, and sometimes I get it, and sometimes when you were saying like adapting to a new age, you know what I'm saying, adapting to the millennials, but what's wrong with tradition? You know what I'm saying? I feel like we were raised off of that, and I feel like let me finish. Hold on, let me finish.
Something that's gonna kind of help, I think, bring that together. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we were raised on tradition, right? That's what got us through, and I feel like in time, yes, we do need to adapt, but there are certain things in the word that should remain consistent.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what
I
I'm
agree,
saying? There should be no point in time where, like, you know what, I want this word to fulfill all the wrongs that I'm doing, and because it's not, I'm going to go seek elsewhere, or not go to church or go to brunch instead because that word isn't accepting of what I believe. Does that make any sense?
No, I get what you're saying. No, I think the bigger problem, and I think it even goes to what you were saying before, is there's this thing that I learned called the consequence of authority. So there used to be authoritative figures that stood by and they actually lived what they talked about. I think one of the problems was caused the break is that certain people in those positions are not about it.
You ain't
You know
lying.
what I'm saying? No other way to put it. And so because of that, like that, just people.
Right. How are you forcing me to live to a standard you're not living up to and not real about it?
And so because of that, okay, so one of the things about something like scripture, something like that, or something about like private revelation, like I'm sitting in my room and God talked to me, like you have to have some kind of somebody to guide you through that.
Right.
But if that person is not credible based on the way they live their life, why are you going to trust that person? I think that's part of the problem we're having here today. Is like, so now I have to make up
For all
what's
the
right.
wrongs.
You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have a guide. I mean, it's the same thing like they talk about like kids who didn't have parents that taught them right. Parents that didn't live a certain thing. They automatically, I have to do it myself, and then that kind of goes in. And I think that's... So
Can I piggyback off? I think what you said was very powerful. I even want to go back to what I said. We do not look up the context of scripture at all.
Yeah.
So it's hard for us to make it applicable in 2019 when you don't even know what you're talking about. So I remember asking a question to an older friend of mine. I'm not going to, call her name out, but when she sees this, she'll know I'm talking about her. She's about 62, I believe, right? And I, as you all know, I'm ordained, and I have people in my life who are, the alternative, living. And I commented on her page and I said, congratulations. It was a woman, she married a woman. And she called me. We was having a regular Saturday conversation and she asked me a question. She said, as a minister, do you think you're hindering your witness by saying congratulations to them? I said, no. I said, I love everybody. That's number one. And if we can come to a revelation that women can be pastors and women can be bishops and women can have leadership roles in the church, when the Bible clearly says, women, shut up. If we could come to a revelation of context that Paul was actually telling them to respect their husbands in the house of God, then I think we need to kind of have you get what I'm saying about the context and the revelation and the interpretation. And I think we've been spewing things to people and we don't even know the history, the setting, the narrative of what Apostle Paul was saying or what Jesus was saying at the moment. And I think until we really go back into research and back into our books, I think we kind of need to hush on certain subjects because we don't.
We've gone to this. We're going to go to the break, but before we go there, I think a lot of it has to do with the generation that we are in, and they're so quick to copy and paste a meme and paste something, and they don't have no interpretation of it. They don't know what it means.
Right.
It looks good.
Right.
Get them a couple of likes. So
right.
Post it with no intention of what that is and what that means. We're going to be right back on Courtney's Corner.
Yes.
That was good. welcome back, guys. I was asked my opinion on veganism, and it varies.
And even deeper than that, we knew in ancient times that the science of nutrition is pretty new. So people say, "I eat meat for nutrition." We knew that we ate food for intelligence. We knew that everything was living,
right.
so we ate literally to get the energy from the food source, not for nutrients, right? And so we knew that, okay, if I eat this food, it's going to give me this knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding, this energy.
Okay.
What's up, everybody? I go by the name of K-Hype, performing my new single called Pain.
I actually got upset about what I had been eating, so I got to the point where I was angry about what our diet, the deception, what people in our family have suffered from for generations, believing that there's no way to get around it.
For some people, they're just like stuck in their ways. You get to a certain age, you're like, listen, I'm gonna do what I want to do because it's gotten me this far. And I like the fact that as young black men, we are trying to plant seeds. That's what we can do, right? Just plant the seed and hope that it sows in somebody's life.
Hey everybody, I'm Sugar Ray. And I'm Phil Noel, and I Foresight. And you're now watching Courtney's Corner. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Have a good night. Have a great night. Peace.
I wish you guys are here or were here when we have these conversations, because off air, it's just real. It's real. We're going to start you guys because we talked about a lot of like just, having the word stretch to kind of fit our lives. And there was something you were saying, Janice, before.
Okay.
Let's go into that real quick.
Okay. Well, what was I saying? No. Yes. I believe that we need to get back into background, history, context. And I'm going to use an example. My friend is outside, Jen, and we talk all day long on Messenger, right? So we have called each other monkeys, we've called each other some other terms that I'm not going to say on, but none of you know our relationship.
Right.
So that's say 20 years from now, in a little time capsule, virtual time capsule, you'll see our conversation where she calls me a monkey. At one point in our history, monkey was defined, it was a horrible term for black people. It was used in cartoons. It was recently used, in other places. That was derogatory towards the African American community.
They use it to mock Obama all the time.
Exactly. So. However, that's not what Jennifer and I are talking about. In our texting. But if you do not know the history and the communication that we use with each other, you will misinterpret what we mean. So that's say 20 years, 100 years from now, you were saying that we were disrespectful to each other, calling each other monkeys, when we were, no, you're just saying, in our terms, we're just calling each other fools, like, it's a joke, or, So I think until leaders, preachers, people, whoever, get back into research it. And unfortunately, they say if you want to keep it from black people, put it in a book. So a lot of times we're hearing things that are cliches or off emotions to fix our interpretation from the pulpit to the door. Even down to women shut up. So you have men who won't let women do a thing in church. However, as a woman, I believe I have every right to be in the pulpit because I was there when Jesus was born. I had to hide as the mother of Mary. Okay, I had to go hide my kid. Then when he was dead, all the men left him, and I had to stay at the cross with him. And the only thing was I was late when he got up. Women were always late, but he, by the time I came to the tomb, he was already gone. So I was there from the beginning to the end, and then you tell me I can't preach, I like that. So at the end of the day, they have taken that scripture and made it out to be something they wanted, So my thing is, if we can find a revelation. And I was saying for myself, because I am ordained, I'm a preacher, if we could take that revelation and go, it does not necessarily mean, Janice, shut up. This what we were talking about. Respect your husband, respect the man. Then why aren't we flexible with many other scriptures, as far as the linen, like you brought up?
It's crazy.
Now, come on. I'm going to go to hell if I wear purple and red. We caught that, but we still eat shrimp, though. we still eat fish we still eating pork, and it says don't touch pork. So where are we?
Okay, what do you think about this?
Oh man, that's a whole. I mean, I think all of those things happen because. So, how do we follow the history, right? You have to follow history. Who records history? That's another like part of it, right? And so like
his story.
Navigating through all of that is hard in and of itself, especially when those who are like supposed to do that aren't being accountable for the people. And I mean, church in and of itself is supposed to be people, the people with God coming together and all of that stuff. And yeah, so, I mean, I think that's a lot of the battle, a lot of the fight. I think stems from there, and so trying to find common ground. I think rather than arguing about these like lesser things,
majoring in the minors,
where do we find for common ground? Let's find a way to build. And I think in the process, like let's learn that together. You know what I'm saying? Like let's go on that history journey. Let's go on that together. You know,
let's teach you these facts that you are missing. Let's teach you what needs to be taught because that ain't right.
Right.
But even more than teach it, like let's learn it together. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's what we need to do.
It's the road to Emmaus. If we want to use anything, it's walking alongside.
And the big thing that I want to touch on what you said is who's delivering the message. One of the examples that I always give is if I were to write a book, hypothetically, about the world and what's going on, and someone found this 2,000-3,000 years from now, you would think Prince, Michael Jackson, and Kobe Bryant were God. If you read my book, because you'd be like, damn, these guys must have been amazing, you know. But if either one of you were to write a book, those three people might not even be mentioned. So if someone were to find for our 4 books 4,000 years from now, it would be 4 totally different paths to take. So who's to say that we can take this one book and just follow it so blindly, because this is just one point of view, one interpretation. The parables are gold. Like I said off air, I don't think The Boy Who Cried Wolf is a story that necessarily actually happened, but the message and the moral in the story is gold. You have to follow that because your word is all you have. So I think that the stories in all religious texts, whatever religion you subscribe to, it may not necessarily be real, but pay attention to the message. Follow it too blind. Oh, you can't do that because they said no. That probably didn't happen, but the message in those stories is what you got to take.
Okay. Whoa, man. Okay, so in regards to like messages, right? So now we're trying to be able to come together as a community, not just millennials, but like people who are older, people who are younger, like you said, Z, X, elemental P.
Right.
We're trying to like bridge this gap. We're trying to be able to teach each other, but I feel like there's a disconnect, right? And this is the disconnect, which causes us as millennials. You know what? I'm out. I'm going to go places where it makes me comfortable, and that's where I think a lot of these new age churches are being born.
Okay.
And people who are just like, you know what, this isn't working for me. You're like, this tradition isn't working for me. Like
you say new age, like, so like these, different denominations,
like these non-denominational churches that are happening right now. I can't even on top of
Hillsong is one.
Hillsong is coming up. I forgot the one in North Carolina. I forgot the name of that church.
Oh, you're talking about Elevation.
Elevation. And I think that are being brought out. You know, and I for me, it's feeling like the feeling is because we're trying to like update. Can I say update ourselves?
Are you against those?
No,
how do you feel
I just feel,
but I do feel like these things are coming in because the traditional churches we don't want to be a part of them no more.
We don't.
We're tired of that. We're tired of you telling us something that we know ain't true. If you said to our grandmother's grandmother, there ain't the same thing going on right now.
Right.
So my thing is your take on that. These new age churches, because we're so like this done.
Yeah, because so when you say new age too, and I was gonna say this before, there's also new age spirituality with people blending in religions and and then kind of make it.
Isn't that how our other religions came though? Because like we said, Jesus was supposedly Jewish, and then he manifested that into Christianity, and then isn't that where everything comes from?
It's so many things we can unwrap in this, and I know people are not going to expect me to say this. People are not going to expect me to say certain things like that because I'm an evangelist. But I think, first of all, the reason why we're going to Hillsong is because we want to just get to the point. When I come to church, I don't want to be annoyed. I don't want to be yelled at. I don't want to be, I don't want to hear craziness. I just want to meet God. I want to experience with the Heavenly Father. That's all I want. And then I actually want to go home because I have a stressful week that I have to attend to. And I think until we get back to the whole point of this, because the thing is, Jesus didn't start Christianity. The Christian was another derogatory term that started in Athens, which means that you were psychotic. Because, so technically, Jesus didn't start Christianity. They were the people of the way, the people of light. The people of enlightenment. If you really dig through all of that. So the question is, even the way we see church now it came from even Rome and how they institutionalized what Jesus put in the earth. So I think until we really dig deep in those type of truths, we're I think always gonna keep splitting.
There's Rome, but then there's also the Eastern stuff.
Yes.
The right stuff.
Yes.
There's like Gnostic stuff and Yeah.
So it's so many sectors of why we became who we became, even down to slavery. Church was the only place black people was important. So now you still see that same spirit from slavery now coming in our black churches, where this is the only place people have authority. So you're yelling at me like you're talking to your children, and I don't want to be yelled at. you get what I'm saying? And so when a lot of times people don't have, even in the civil rights movement, people say the church led the way. That's not necessarily true, because when Dr. King wanted to start the movement, the church didn't back him up at first. They wouldn't even let him in preaching their church. So there's layers to this. Before us millennials got here, people, there were issues that now
it didn't start with us.
It didn't start with us. Y'all been had issues, and now we're here to just say y'all have issues. And we don't want to deal with it. We just want God.
I think we're just the first generation that got the balls to point it out and be like, oh, nah, I don't like it.
Yes.
Who wants to speak on it? This show is an example of it.
Wow.
Right.
You don't give us a space, we'll build one.
Right. But for those people, see, a lot of us, especially in this room right now, we're still there. We're still in church. No matter what's going on, we found a way to stay faithful, and stay strong. But for those who are struggling right now, for those who were in the church and after all that destruction of the drama and the fighting and the fussing, and they're like, you know what, I'm done. What do we say to them? How do we get them to come back?
I think I'm one of those people. I can't say that right now I subscribe to any organized religion. Do I know God exists? Absolutely. I hear people say, like, you can say you don't believe in potatoes, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. Fine.
Right.
Do your thing. I absolutely know God exists, but religion is man-made, therefore it has to be flawed. There's no way that it can be perfect. So to me, I'm still trying to navigate and figure out, my path and my way to salvation. I haven't figured it out yet, but it's one step at a time, day by day. I try to find myself, but I can't say that I subscribe to, any organized religion at this time. I don't know if I ever will, honestly.
So it's more for you, more like a relationship, not a religion.
Absolutely, because I feel like for you to even have life, breath, to love, to cry, to be hungry, to have all of that stuff, and not know that God is responsible in the equation of that, just boggles my mind. So to each his own. Everyone, I think, is free to believe whatever you want. If you want to be an atheist, do your thing. If you want to be a Satanist, do your thing. That's your prerogative.
And the truth be told, even the atheists acknowledge God.
That's what,
it's undeniable.
All right, what about you? What's something to say about this one?
You know I do. As one who's been in church again my whole entire life, my whole family is wrapped around the church culture. I think culture is a big word. You brought this up before. Culture is something we've tried to define: right, wrong, God, not God. Whereas, honestly, some of the stuff we do is just a black thing. Some stuff is just a white thing, honestly. But we've trying to confine it into this is what the church experience is supposed to be. I would even talk about the dancing. How if you Pentecostal, we hop up and down. I'm a great professional dancer. Like I will dance. Like I put my heels on and I'm like, oh, I got it down packed. But if you research it, Martin Luther caught that in the club, and many of our hymns we sing is from the club. So you telling me I can't sing Drake when the hymn came from the party that Martin Luther went to last night. Like, come on, know your stuff before you come at me. So I think what I would say to the millennial that have stopped going to church, I would say at one point I stopped going to church too, and I was saved and ordained, and it was some Sundays I was home, you know, and because I was just tired. I would just say keep in touch with God. You know, find your way back, and there's a church for everybody. You know, if you don't want to be in church 5 hours, I don't blame you. I don't either. I hate it. I get hungry, so I'm sneaking snacks, and I act like I'm coughing. I go putting cookies in my mouth because I'm hungry. You know, so find that church for you. There's churches that have brunches and their talk, so it's cafe, tabernacle. Do what you got to do, but don't let the church keep you from church.
And also kind of just remembering what you're going there for. I like what you just said before. Like, you're not going. Yes, it's good to sing. It's good to be a part of the altar team. It's good to be a part of the usher. It's good to be a part. You want to sit there with Lady Marmalade, whoever you want to hang out with.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're going there for God, and that's what I love about these New Age churches.
But do you really? I have a problem with that belief. I believe that I am going to church to have that supernatural experience, but I think that's against what we believe in the Bible. The church was not originated for us just to experience Him. The church was created for us to help each other, and I think that's what we're missing. We're trying to take the social aspect out of church. Like, oh yeah, you don't come here for sister so and so, but how do you come to church and worship and have a problem with sister so and so? God don't even see your little fake tears in your shout. No. When we come to church, I need to make sure my brother is good. Even no matter what journey he's on right now, when you show up, I need to make sure, did you eat this week? Is your body, when the last time you've been to the doctor? I need to genuinely care about you, and not so much because somebody is telling me to care about you. It's the agape love of, this is what we do. When you show up in church, it's not just, I'm here for God. No, you here for your brother and your sister too.
And that's true, but in that same aspect, I feel like, and even to me, like, you know, I've been in church all my life.
Yes.
And you know, through high school.
Yes.
No
Glory.
But at the same time, I feel like in some cases, we get so caught up in community that we forget what we're there for. We forget that God is right. You know,
the nucleus.
Like, we want to work in the kitchen ministry.
Wow.
We want to work in the choir, and we get caught up in all those little cliques and nicks and drama. Happen that we forget that when we go there, our main focus amid the community.
The whole church has moved away. If we went back to, it says, okay, in the New Testament church, everything was about feeding the poor, making sure, you know, they had clothes and everything. We've moved so far away from what it was designed to be. That's why we can't stay focused. That's why we have drama. You know why? Because nobody's busy doing the work of Christ.
Everybody's busy doing it so that way they can tell the pastor.
Yes.
Social media. Right. Once again. With those bitches. Pastor and his fancy car that he got. You know what I'm saying? So like we forget and we lose focus. And one of the things, even for me, like you were saying how you left church. At one point I left. Because I was tired of being used. You know, I was tired of feeling like I was coming there and I would do something, and then when I was no longer needed, that was it. But then I lost focus. I forgot that at the end of the day, I love my community, but I love God too. And in order to save my soul and to save my life, I got to go back to where it's focused and regain that focus. And even if I had to go to another church, and I had to leave what once was and go to somewhere else to rebuild and regain what I lost. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like in some cases we stay because that drama connects us. That drama is like in us, and we love it and we seek it.
It gives us excitement.
It gives us excitement, and we forget. You know what I'm saying? We forget.
Sometimes you look for diversity.
When a lot of times we throw around church, and there's two definitions: there's church, the people, the gathering of the people, and church, the institution, right?
Right.
And so, and there's supposed to be a dialogue between the two.
Wow.
Right? So like I can think about it like this: like I have two kids, right? There has to be rules and structure in my home, or my 10-year-old is gonna beat up on my 1-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so on and so forth. But then at the same time, like I have to understand leading my home to be able to meet them and see what their needs are and walk with them in that aspect. And I think the problem is when we've separated those two concepts, right? Yeah. So it's either too much of one or too much of the other. Or one, like I've been saying earlier, is like has abused the power, you know, so that the other one doesn't want to have nothing to do with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's really what's happening today with like families being broken, marriages being broken, like all of that stuff. Like it's kind of like one person put it this way. Even though I know where you're at, kind of weary about the Satan thing, but Satan wants to destroy. How does he want to destroy? First part is by dividing. The easiest way to divide, to break apart anything, is by separating the team. You know, and so I think one of the things just over history, we just keep breaking apart and breaking apart and breaking, and we're allowing that to happen. Right. Although there are some like good reasons why people will leave. Like it's one of the things like, man, like one of my boys, like for real, like he's going through it with his wife, and he legit texted me last night like, she's dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? But he's like, nah, like out of pride, I don't want to, like I can fight to try and make that work. Now, in some places that becomes so toxic where it has to be. But I think sometimes we give up on that too easily, you know, just because I was offended in one small way, you know, doesn't mean that we completely divide or break away from each other.
That's so true.
But then if I leave your church, see this is, and I agree with you, we should never divide, even if I pick up my membership and go somewhere else. And I think this is where it goes back to community. It's not whether you go to St. Paul's or St. John's. If you a brother, you a brother no matter where you go. So are we really a cult? In disguise.
So the universal entire globe, like did that church used to come back? I mean, now even just this will take us on a whole nother thing, but how many hundreds of thousands of denominations are there now? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah, but no, that's a real question I have. How do we formulate a behavior for people who left our church, our local assemblies? I like to, because I don't like to call it a church, because I feel we are the church. I feel we the church right here. You get what I'm saying? When I take my friends to Dunkin' Donuts, we're the church. I have church at karaoke. I have church anywhere. You know, okay. You know, so you know, when I show up, it's church. When I say that all the time. When I show up, it's church. You know, so my thing is, how do we pull ourselves away from people who maybe at a time can't rock with what we're doing? You know, we all have our own journeys, we all have our own paths, and there is times where certain churches cannot feed you what you need at that time because it's not there. And a lot of times as millennials, when we try to introduce it, we're rejected. So guess what? Jesus dusts off his feet too at one point, and we'll go to another city.
Guys, this is a great conversation. Oh man, listen, please join in on this conversation when this episode comes out, because this is a great one. Before we go,
say something.
Before we go, I want everybody to go around and just tell everybody where they can find more about you.
Okay.
All right, we'll start with you, Janice. This camera right over here.
Okay. You could definitely find me on Facebook, Janice E. Green. I'm also on Instagram, Janice E. Green. I'm very hilarious, so don't come on my page looking for a lot of religious stuff, but I love Jesus very much. You will find Jesus there, but you will also laugh.
All right, you guys can find me at Carnegie_Kid on all platforms. That's CARNEGIE_KID, and that's on every platform. You know, definitely search me, check me out, follow me, comment. You know, let me know how you feel about this. If you got anything, you know, coming up, let me know. I'd love to be a part of it.
Well, the conversation, like I said, does not end here. I thank you both so much for being here.
Thank
it was an amazing conversation, amazing dialogue. I love you guys.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Dope.
That was dope, guys. That was so good.
That was a dope convo, guys. Man. Thank you so much.
The conversation, like I said, does not end here. So, tell me, how did you enjoy today's episode?
Oh man, not enough time.
It's never enough, right? It flies by, and you're like, dang, I wish I had like another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And every time I look at the minutes going down on the camera, on the sign, I'm like, damn, we don't got much time. And Homegirl over here was spewing some good stuff, and I was just like, we ain't got a minute left. And I saw her looking at the camera, and I was just like,
that's the beauty of the conversation.
Yes.
You know, and it's you give and take. It's a dialogue. dialogue. It's not a monologue. So
Yes. Well, I thank all of my guests for being here. Both of you that
Thank
you guys for being here. I thank you for being my co-host. It was always a pleasure. You've been with me rocking since season 1. So to be here now is completely full circle. And to see how it kind of elevated itself. By the grace of God, we're here. I thank you guys for watching. Remember, join in on the conversation. You don't want to miss this one. I'm telling you, under the comments, leave something. Share, like, and subscribe. Coming up next is a performance by none other than Courtney the Kid. I love you for watching, and I'll see you soon on Courtney's Corner.
Yes.
Like you ain't already know, it's Carnegie Kid representing the Left Field Party. I'm gonna do a song for y'all called My God off that Prince of Kings County project coming real soon. My God hates religion, 'cause my God hates every limitation that it gives him. My God hates how you try so hard to handicap his wisdom. Like he's petty enough to see the difference between a Buddhist and a Christian, Jewish man or a Muslim. But I get it, it's tradition. That's what your grandmama taught you, so you better not go against it. That hellfire brimstone is oh so relentless, and you don't want your ass in that fire 'cause it singes. I'm losing my religion, I burned the bridges. I gone astray too far to revisit. Seems to me they misinterpreted the scripture, waging holy wars like he would condone killing in his image. I'm seeing one too many blatant contradictions. You in church Sunday morning, but Saturday night hella sinning. Binge drinking liquor and throwing money at bitches, then after service got the nerve to ask me why I was missing. Well, my God knows I'm on the path to something different. Disposition. And I swear to my God, in Sunday school I paid attention, but this brain scarred, no brainwash, I couldn't be conditioned. Believe nothing over my own intuition. I'm trying to digest this information, and I don't like the way it's sitting. You mean if I was Sharif from the Middle East attempting to get into heaven, I'd be denied the admission for merely praying to Allah instead of being a Christian? Well, forgive me, my God, for this sense of suspicion, but why's the Almighty so concerned with what makes us different? How could the Most High be so minimalistic? And they looking at me like I'm on some Satanist shit. But in my heart of hearts, I know Satan never even existed. 'Cause my God is much too mighty for any opposition. So them stories of pitchforks and fire got to be fiction. Fairy tales made up to test your convictions. And we all looking for redemption. So allow me to humbly make a suggestion. The next time you speak to God, make a confession about how much your human nature's blocking your blessings. Instead of seeing other cultures for the message and the lessons, you trying to dissect it, looking for imperfection. Well, let he who was without sin throw the first stone in my direction. Hard-headed, I never learned my lesson, and I ain't digressing. See, it's just hard to believe it's a sin to spill my seed. And this woman I love more than Adam loved Eve, 'cause we laying down with no intentions to conceive or having stood in front of a priest to exchange rings. But our union is no less holy, even minus the matrimony. Try and drop these jewels, I hope you catch them for me. Don't crucify me, I'm only trying to tell a story and dispel disdain on my way to glory. And I'm sorry, but the God to whom I pray don't give a fuck who's rich or poor, black or white, straight or gay. Long as while you at the plate, you bow your head, you say the grace, you take a stance in your faith, look a man in his face and try to erase all the walls built to divide us. Be guided by the little voice of God that's inside us. Never by the opinions of an outsider. Take ownership of your own shit and be your soul's proprietor. And I ain't lying, I cross my heart, hope to dying. Bear this cross, float to Zion. Slingshot third eye, woke the giant. Y'all sleep though, y'all don't hear me. I'm from my heart with the speech though, they gotta feel me. I just can't go with the status quo, God forbid me. And my God, if I'm wrong, may my God forgive me. My God.